Good morning, students. Today we are going to discuss the last portion of this chapter, the last video of this chapter, the part 3 portion of this chapter. The name of the chapter is Reproductive Health from class 12 biology. So today's topic is the medical termination of pregnancy. The first we should discuss the MTP, then we will discuss the STDs. Okay. So I hope already you have gone through our last 2 videos from this chapter, and from these 2 videos all of you came to know about the reproductive health, population explosion, their causes, their prevention, the contraceptives, the ideal features of contraceptives, and the methods of the contraceptives. Already we have discussed all those things. So now I am going to discuss about the MTP. Now I am going to discuss about MTP, the medical termination of pregnancy. So first you should know what is the basic definition, what is the basic meaning of the medical termination of pregnancy. So this is actually the common meaning or common term of the medical termination of pregnancy is the abortion. The common term is the abortion. I think this term is quite familiar to all of you. So this termination of pregnancy before the completion of full term intentionally or voluntarily is called the medically termination of pregnancy or induced abortion. Okay, this if the abortion is not spontaneous, then it's called the induced abortion. Okay, so I have highlighted this thing. Now the termination of pregnancy before the completion of full term intentionally or voluntarily is called the medical termination of pregnancy or the induced abortion. Clear? So this MTP has a significant role in decreasing population through it's not meant for that purpose. So the government of India legalized MTP in the year of 1971. In the year of 1971 with some strict provisions to prevent its misuse. Okay. Then why MTP? What is the actually implication of the MTP and why we should use the MTP? To prevent the unwanted pregnancies. First thing, to prevent the unwanted pregnancies. The second, in cases, actually why MTP? The first thing is that to prevent the unwanted pregnancies, and the second thing is the in cases where continuous or continuation of pregnancy is harmful for the mother body or fetus body, then we can go for MTP. Okay, so this MTP can be induced by the surgery or the medicinally. So why MTP? So to prevent the unwanted pregnancies, the first thing, to prevent the unwanted pregnancies. The second point is the in case where continuation of pregnancy is harmful or even fatal for the breastfeed, for the mother or fetus or the both, then we can go for the MTP. The next thing is the actually MTPs are the safe in the first trimester. MTPs are the safe in the first trimester. Okay. So this is important. So from the human reproduction chapter, I think all of you know that what is the meaning of trimester. So in the whole pregnancy, in whole gestation period, we can divide this whole gestation period into 3 trimester. The first trimester means the month 1 to month 3. The second trimester means the month 4 to month 7, and the last trimester 4, 5, 6, and the last trimester means the 7 to 9. It means the 7th, 8th, 9th. Okay. And however, MTPs during the second trimester are also riskier. Okay. So a dangerous trend is that MTPs are performed by quacks or unqualified doctors, which may turn fatal for the mother's body. Okay. And this actually also use of the amniocentesis process. Amniocentesis means the before birth we can detect the sexual determination, the sex determination, the baby will be boy or girl. So through the amniocentesis process we can detect. Okay. So also use of the amniocentesis or other methods of prenatal sex determination may lead to the female feticide as the preference for male child is very high. So this is the overview of the MTP. This is just the overview of the MTP. I am repeating again, what is the meaning of MTP? MTP means the medically terminated pregnancy. Medically termination of pregnancy. So this type of abortion or this type of termination is not the spontaneous, this is the induced abortion. So that's why this is called the MTP. And why MTP? Why we should go for the MTP? To prevent the unwanted pregnancies in cases where continuation of pregnancy is harmful or even fatal to the mother or fetus or both. Okay. Next thing is the MTPs are safe. When MTPs are safe, so which portions I have highlighted, these portions are important for your exam. Which portions I have highlighted, this portion is important for your exam. Okay. So in which time, in which duration the MTPs are safe? The MTPs are safe in the first trimester, it means the first month of pregnancy to the third month of pregnancy. Okay. Next topic is the sexually transmitted disease. Next topic is the sexually transmitted disease. What is the meaning of the sexually transmitted disease? So which disease transmitted sexually? Which disease transmitted by sexually? That's called the sexually transmitted disease. That disease is called the sexually transmitted disease. And this disease, actually this term is quite familiar to all of you. So the disease or infections. So disease or infections of the reproductive tract. So these whole STDs are important for your 1 or 2 marks question, that the disease or infections of the reproductive tract which are transmitted through sexual activities and intercourse are called the STDs. Are called the STDs or the venereal disease or the reproductive tract infection. That's called the RTI. Okay. So I am repeating again, what is the meaning of STDs? The disease or infections of the reproductive tract which are actually transmitted through the sexual activities and intercourse are called the STD. The full form of STD is the sexually transmitted disease or the venereal disease. The example of the STDs are the gonorrhea, syphilis, AIDS, all those things, genital warts, trichomoniasis, all those things. Okay. And among all those things, HIV infection is most dangerous and is not curable disease. The HIV AIDS is not curable disease, and don't mix this HIV and AIDS. AIDS is one kind of disease. The full form of AIDS is acquired immune deficiency syndrome, and AIDS is actually occurred by the infection of the HIV virus, human immune virus. Okay. So HIV is not the disease. The name of the disease is AIDS, and the name of the virus, the name of the pathogen is HIV. Okay. So I am repeating again, how STD actually takes place in our body. The disease or infections of the reproductive tract which are transmitted through sexual activities and intercourse without protection. Actually in this way STDs occur. Next thing is the hepatitis B and HIV can also be transmitted. This hepatitis B and HIV virus can also be transmitted by sharing of injections, not only for the without protection sex. So HIV or hepatitis B can also, this hepatitis B is also the lethal disease for the humankind. Okay. So the hepatitis B and HIV can also be transmitted by sharing of injections or the surgical implements with the infected person, transfusion of the infected blood, transmission from the infected mother to the fetus. So without the unprotected sex, by all those things, by all those means, this STD can be transmitted to person. Okay. Except for the hepatitis B, genital herpes and HIV infection, other STDs are curable if detected early. Okay. So what is the common symptoms of the STDs? How you will identify that you are STDs patient? So the itching, the fluid discharge through the reproductive system, slight pain and swelling. Okay. I am repeating again, the itching, the fluid discharge, slight pain and the swelling. Okay. So here the individuals may remain asymptomatic for a long time. So this coupled with the stigma associated with the STDs are the major reason many STDs remain undetected. Why? Because if these kinds of STDs may remain asymptomatic. What is the meaning of asymptomatic? Nowadays this asymptomatic word is very familiar to all of us due to coronavirus. So asymptomatic means the without showing any symptom. Without showing any symptom. So individuals may remain asymptomatic for a long time. So that's why maximum STDs are remain not curable. Okay. This could lead to the complication later, which include the pelvic inflammatory disease, abortions, stillbirths, ectopic pregnancies, infertility, or even cancer of the reproductive tracts. Okay, so this is the actually the cause and symptoms of the STDs. These are actually the cause and symptoms of the STDs. The next is the steps to prevent STDs. The next thing is the steps to prevent STDs. The first step is it avoids sex with unknown or multiple partners. First is it avoids sex with unknown or multiple partners. The second one is it always use condoms during coitus. It always use condoms during coitus. The third one is if in doubt, go to a qualified doctor for early detection and treatment for disease. So this is the prevention procedure of STDs. So first one is the avoid sex with unknown or multiple partners. Second one is always use condoms during the sexual intercourse. And third one, if in doubt, go to a qualified doctor for early detection and treatment for disease. So this is not important for your exam. The cause and symptoms is important for your exam. The last topic for today, the last topic for this last video of this chapter, that the infertility. This infertility, what is the meaning of this infertility is actually nowadays this infertility is the major issue for the marriage couple. Okay, so what is the meaning of infertility? This infertility is actually the inability to produce children in spite of unprotected sexual intercourse or cohabitation. So I am highlighting these portions. What is the meaning of infertility? That infertility is the ability or inability to produce the children in spite of unprotected sexual cohabitation. So this is called the infertility, the basic term or the normal thing that it's the actually inability to produce the children, to produce the offspring. So reasons could be physical, congenital, disease, emotional, sociological, drugs, or even psychological. Okay, so often female, for that reason, maximum time female is blamed for being childless, but the fault could more often than not lie with the male as well. So male body has also, there is high chance of there is high probability that male body has also the defect. Okay, but nowadays still now often female is blamed for being childless. So there are some treatment procedure is there for this infertility, actually infertile couples. For this infertile couple, these different techniques are the boon for the infertile couples. So all those things are commonly called the assisted reproductive technologies. I am highlighting these things. Assisted reproductive technology. The short form is ART. The short form is ART. So there are total 6 steps or 6 types of ARTs is there. The first one is the in vitro fertilization. The first one is the in vitro fertilization, the IVF procedure. The first one is the in vitro fertilization, the IVF procedure. So what happened in this in vitro fertilization? That this involves actually fertilization of gametes outside the body in condition. So normal fertilization takes place inside the body, but these kinds of artificial technology, these kinds of artificial techniques, these things actually takes place the outside of the body. That's why this is called the in vitro. The normal fertilization is called the in vivo. Okay, which fertilization takes place inside of the body, the male and female both, that's called, their type of fertilization is called the in vivo fertilization. But which fertilization, which type of fertilization actually takes place the outside of the body, that's called the in vitro fertilization. So this actually involves the fertilization of gametes outside the body in conditions that mimic body conditions. Okay, so the fertilized zygote is then induced to divide to form the embryo. So the sperm and ovum conjugate together the outside of the male and female body, okay, by artificially. So these kinds of fertilization procedure is called the in vitro fertilization. The next one is the zygote intrafallopian transfer. The next one is the zygote intrafallopian transfer. What happened in the case of the zygote intrafallopian transfer? The zygote or early embryo can be transferred into the fallopian tube of the female. So during the time of your exam, this all those long term, this short term is very important, like this type of question may come that write down the full term, write down the meaning of gift, write down the meaning of gift. So you have to elaborate this term, that the zygote intrafallopian transfer. What is the full form of gift? The zygote intrafallopian transfer. So the zygote or early embryo can be transferred into the fallopian tube of the female. Next is the intrauterine transfer. Next is the intrauterine transfer. Okay, what happened in the intrauterine transfer? That the embryos actually with more than 8 blastomere stage. So in the human reproduction chapter already you have studied what is the meaning of the 8 cell stage, what is the meaning of the 16 cell stage, what is the meaning of 32 cell stage, what is the meaning of blastomere, all those things you have already studied. So in this procedure, the embryos with more than 8 blastomere stage can be transferred directly into the uterus. So that's why the name is intrauterine device. Okay, and the before term is that zygote intrafallopian transfer. So what is the meaning of this? That actually zygote or early embryo transferred to the fallopian tube, and here the name is intrauterine transfer. It means the mature embryo is transferred to direct uterus. Okay. Next is the gamete intrafallopian transfer. Next is the gamete intrafallopian transfer. That's called the gift. That's called the gift. Okay. So what is the meaning of the gift? That the ovum from the donor is collected and transferred into another female who cannot produce one but can provide conditions for fertilization and further development. So what is the meaning of that? That the couple cannot produce the gamete, okay, but can provide conditions for fertilization and further development. Okay, so that's called the gamete intrafallopian transfer. Next is the intracytoplasmic sperm injection. Intracytoplasmic sperm injection, that called the ICSI. That's called the ICSI. So it's one type of the specialized procedure. It's one type of the specialized procedure that forms an embryo in the laboratory by directly injecting a sperm into the ovum. So in this case, the male body has problem, that male body cannot produce the sperm. The male body cannot produce the sperm, or the male body cannot penetrate the penis during the time of the sexual intercourse. The last is the artificial insemination, the AI technique. The last is the artificial insemination, the AI technique. What happened in the AI technique? That in this technique, the semen collected either from the husband or a healthy donor is artificially introduced either into the vagina or into the uterus. That's called the artificial insemination technique. So all those techniques is one kinds of the artificial process. This is not the natural process. So all those techniques are the boon for the infertile couple, and they also need but all those methods require certified experts handling the procedures with high precision. Okay, so they also need the expensive instrumentation. So legal adoption is another good method for couple looking for the parenthood also. Okay, so this is the infertility, and for your exam this infertility portion is very important, and within this all those artificial process, the test tube baby is quite familiar and quite known process to all of us. So during the time of your exam, please go through this portion, this infertility and the cause of the sexual intercourse or cause of the STDs actually. So all those things, please go through this properly, and I hope this video will help you a lot for better understanding. And this is the last video of this chapter. In our next video, we will start to discuss the chapter 2. Okay, thank you, bye.